Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Strive Show, and today we will be talking about the cause of chronic stress.
Welcome to the Strive Show. I'm Dr. Jake Grunhocker, and together with the amazing doctors at Strive Chiropractic, our phenomenal team, and some extraordinary guests along the way, we will be in the pursuit of truth in all things health, life, and family. We believe you not only can handle the truth, you deserve it. Enjoy the show.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today we will be talking about chronic stress and really how we get there, because it's something that we hear a ton when people talk about stress, or man, my stress has been terrible, chronic stress. They're starting to see all these health conditions show up from it. And really we just want to kind of break down, where does chronic stress come from? You probably can't pinpoint it. You probably don't know exactly where, but if you really look, like, my stress is so high, we want to talk about where that's coming from and what we can do about it.
Yeah. Because a lot of times it's not, we have this conversation with patients quite often that it's not usually one thing or the other, as much as it's sometimes a combination of all these things that come together, and that's kind of what sets it off.
You got it. So, we kind of talk about it a lot in the office. We're talking about a macro trauma versus a micro trauma. A macro trauma being that car accident, a macro trauma being that maybe catastrophic family event emotionally, or some other things like that. But far more often than not, as Brian said, it's these micro traumas. It's the buildup of the little things in our lives.
Yeah, it's just they build up these little kind of things time after time, day after day, and sometimes it's just that one next little thing that kind of pushes it over the edge and kind of puts you into this, stress response that our body goes through.
Yeah, you got it. And when we talk a lot about stress, we're talking about it, we talk about the big picture of stress, but we want to break it down as kind of how we view stress. And a lot of times you call it the 3 T's of stress, which is traumas, toxins, and thoughts. But it's really just physical, chemical, and emotional stresses.
Absolutely. So it's, like we talked about, it's that combination of those things, right? And most people that come in here, they kind of go to the physical first, right? Because that's kind of the more obvious. But when you start talking with them and pull out some of these other emotional things and these chemical things, like those are and you start to put that all together, then it starts to make a little bit more sense, like why they are in the state they are.
Yeah, and I think most people can really wrap their head around the physical traumas. It's the slips and falls, it's the car accidents. Those would be the macro trauma types. It's the sedentary lifestyle, sitting at a computer, spending way too much time on our phones. We had an episode about tech neck not long ago, but it's all those physical things that we're doing day after day. We see it a ton from computer work and technology nowadays.
For sure. And then you add in some of that, chemical stress as well, poor diet, not enough hydration, things like that. And then you add in the emotional component too. So it's kind of all that put together.
Yeah. And then the funny thing is our bodies react the exact same way to stress, no matter what type of stress. And I think that's the thing when we're talking about, that's kind of a light bulb or an aha moment for people a lot of times, is that when stress hits the body, the exact same chemical reactions, the exact same responses hit, whether it be a slip and a fall, or I spent 12 hours a day this week on a computer, like that affects our body the exact same way as like these emotional deadlines or family dramas, or I've been eating like crap, or all these kind of things that kind of just are, you're also doing. We don't always put it together in our mind that it's doing the exact same thing, but it's the breakdowns of our body we're seeing exactly the same way, whether it be a physical event or a chemical event or emotional event.
And that's what, we talk about a lot about our scans, right? Like you see that come up in the scans. You'll see these people that are stuck in this stress response, the sympathetic stress response. And that's kind of what we're talking about, how our body reacts the same way, whether it's physical, chemical, or emotional. It reacts the same way. And trying to get that, that balance, that parasympathetic, like kind of getting them out of that, is important, that we have that balance.
You got it. And that's, again, you hear about a lot of hot button stuff, and Brian and I, we don't get too much in the weeds with everything, of course, but when you're hearing about like medications out there, the big V word, that's kind of everywhere. It's a chemical trauma is what it is. And whether you view them as necessary or not, whether you take them and do all the things or not, that is a different story, a different ballgame. Whatever you feel, though, it is a chemical trauma in the body. Your body's having to deal with it, even if it's an ibuprofen.
For sure.
I mean, your body's having to deal with it and detoxify it. So anything in our bodies we're having to deal with. So I think when we see that, and usually when we're talking chronic stress with people, very rarely are they coming in with one. You know what I mean? It's, they spend too much time on a computer, they had an accident prior, they're on a ton of medications, they're eating like crap, they have work deadlines, they have some family stress, and they're wondering why their whole body's fritzed out in chronic stress.
It's all of it.
It's all of it. It's not one.
It's not one or the other. Like,
no, and I think we like to, as a society, put like all of the blame on one thing because it's easier, and it's just not that simple. It's all of them.
Well, and too, like, I think some people want to put the blame or put the onus more on the physical part because, well, if I just go in and get adjusted, right, that's going to take care of the physical part, right? And I think once you start to peel back some of those layers of the onion, like, you'll start to notice, like, I have a poor diet. I have, these other emotional stressors going on, which sometimes those are a little bit more difficult to deal with. You can't just walk into somebody and fix your diet. Yeah. So it's some of those kind of get a little bit trickier and harder for people to want to, take on. Yeah. But once you do, right, like the changes, like, outstanding, like what it does for your body. But, kind of back to your point with the chemistry, like anytime we put anything into our body, like there's this chemical reaction, right? Not to get too nerdy and sciencey, but like that's the chemistry part of it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's also, like you said, Brian, like we've probably mentioned this before on here, we'll probably mention it 100 more times, but it is that idea of the blown fuse, right? 100%. You plug one stress into the outlet, your body can handle it. You plug two stress into the outlet, your body can handle it. By the time you get to that 17th stressor you plug into the outlet, the fuse blows, right? It blows. And we talk chiropractically about flipping the breaker back on, and we'll get to that. But the idea is that what Brian's mentioning is so important is because there's some plugs that we can help you with, but you're gonna have to unplug a lot of those yourself. For sure. Like there's a lot of things you can do to start unplugging those stresses. And before chiropractically, we flipped that breaker back on because if we don't do anything to address everything plugged in the outlet, we're gonna be flipping that breaker on every day for you.
Every time, yeah. You have to do some of the work yourself, which some people probably don't want to hear.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's true. And if you want to, like we talked about, like unplug some of those things out of the breaker, like some of that you have to do yourself. We can't do all that for you. We can certainly, and we would love to give you the ideas on how to do it. Yeah. But some of that we just have to do ourselves. Yeah. So
and maybe a good take home for you is just to maybe make a chart, like fill it out. Like what are all the stresses if we just kind of went through the physical, chemical, emotional stresses that I'm dealing with, and what can I start attacking? Maybe it's drinking more water and less sugary drinks. Maybe it's cleaning up my diet. Maybe it's, shutting work off and leaving it at work a little better. Maybe it's disconnecting from people who are bringing you down or whatever it may be. Maybe it's I need to walk in the middle of the day to break up the computer work, whatever that may be. Take an inventory on what's going on in your world and what you can do about it.
For sure. It's even things like at night, like I talked about people like, how do I decrease my stress, right? At night, I'm like, well, how about put your phone away? Right? Like put your phone down, maybe like pick up a book, like read a book, something that'll like help take your mind down and reduce some of that stress that you have. Yeah.
And that's a big buzzword, really. It's funny because we've been both in practice long enough to where you kind of travel through 10 buzzwords with the same thing. But a huge one now is nervous system regulation, or my nervous system is dysregulated, or how do I regulate my nervous system? Basically what it's doing is what it is what can I unplug from my outlet, right? And Brian has a great one, like just disconnect from the world and the blue screen and your phone for a bit and read a book. Like it's the easiest way to allow your nervous system to come back into control a little bit. Drink some water, go on a walk, sit in the sauna. I mean, there's a million things you can do, but they usually involve disconnecting.
For sure. It's that down regulation, right? And again, when we're trying to get that balance, when we're stuck like up-regulating everything throughout our day, if we can find some things to offset some of that, right, and down-regulate some of that, we're going to be better off.
Way better off, yeah. So, but the thing at the end of the rainbow on this is that if you get to a point where all this is happening and the fuse box is blown and that is tripped and you're living in chronic stress, if that is your system, you can pull stuff out of the outlet all day long and your lights are coming back on, right?
For sure.
And that's where chiropractically we need to scan you, like Brian said earlier. We need to see where those fuses are blown. We need to develop a game plan, help you through it, flip your breaker back on so your body can downregulate, so your body can deal with these stresses, so you can get through your day happy and productive and pain-free and all those kind of things. Because if you're watching this and you're like, man, I'm unplugging all these things from my outlet, I've changed this, I've done that, and I'm still not feeling it, you probably just have that blown fuse, and we need to, chiropractically, we need to flip the breaker back on.
I mean, when we're talking about nerve regulation and things like that, right? I mean, it's right in the name. I mean, nervous system, right?
Yep.
So if that's not functioning like it's designed to or should, that's where you need to come in, get checked, and get that breaker flipped so that you can now start to deal with all that other stuff better and more efficiently.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great thing with technology now, guys, there's a million ways to get hold of us. You can text us, you can call us, DM us on whatever where you're watching this, and find a way to get in and get checked, just because we want to make sure if that's you and you're dealing with that kind of dysregulation and stuck, that we can help you get out of it. And it's something that, I just 5 minutes ago, I heard Brian talking to a patient, giving us some phenomenal advice on things they can do from home. We can be that for you, but we can't do that through this podcast if you're listening, or YouTube if you're watching. There's not a lot we can do until we get a chance to see you here, and we'd love to do that if we can help out with your chronic stress. So anything else, parting shots or thoughts on that, Brian?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Yeah.
So,
do what you can to down-regulate. And one of those things should be giving us a call or a text, and we'd be happy to see you. So
we'd love to see you.
Yeah. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you next time on another episode of The Strive Show.
Thanks for tuning into The Strive Show. Whether you are watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast on your favorite platform, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's episode, please share it with a loved one. We would be honored. Thanks, and have a fantastic week.